All right, so I'll call the meeting of the board to order. Alex, is there a quorum present?
Yes, sir. There is a quorum of the Board of Governors of Uplift Education.
Great. So the board convenes today, May 3rd at 10:10 a.m. at 1825 Market Center Boulevard. Notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. If we could go around and just everybody announce their name and their sort of position. I'll start. My name's Ryan Moss. I'm chairman of the board.
Cameron Johnson, board member.
Ed Toriak, board member.
Ardo Fuentes, board member.
Alan Tollison, Regional Director of Operations.
Edith Lopez, Operations Director.
Josh Terry, board member.
Alex Burke, Chief Legal Officer.
Aaron Francis, Multimedia Marketing Coordinator.
Galen Curry, Director of Employee Relations.
Terrific. Thanks, guys. So our order of business today is to hear the grievance appeal of Tatiana Hurtado. Mrs. Hurtado has not arrived. Ordinarily, the way this would work is Ms. Hurtado would have 15 minutes to present her dispute or grievance. The administration would have 15 minutes to respond. Given the fact that Ms. Hurtado is not here, we will go directly to the administration and hear y'all's point of view. And then, as we were discussing earlier, we will go into potentially go into executive session, and then we'll have a decision after that. So with that, it is 10:11, and if you guys want to get started, feel free.
Yeah. If you want to share the initial infraction, and then I can share some of the level 1 grievance information.
Okay. So on February 7th, the high school director texted me that she needed to speak to me about something that had happened with one of my employees. I went to her office. She told me that one of her deans reported to her that one of my staff members took a scholar that smelled like marijuana into her office, had him remove his clothing, and then provided clean uniform clothing. They placed that uniform items in a bag. The scholar did smell like marijuana. They placed the clothing in a bag, and then they had the scholar leave the office. Whenever, in Tatiana's statement, she stated that whenever she left the office, she then came in contact with 2 of the high school deans, and they were looking for a scholar, and at that time they failed to report that incident that just happened in their office to the high school administration. After that, the deans were still looking for the scholar. Later on, the dean was informed by the scholar that he was in the office, and that the office person had asked him to remove his clothing. At that time, the dean went into her office and asked for the clothing. She only gave up a jacket, and the dean asked her, "Is this everything that you took from him?" She said yes. He left the office, went back to the scholar. The scholar ended up telling him that they had other belongings of his. So then the dean went back to the office and asked her, "Hey, do you have the rest of his things?" She then denied having any more items. Later on, the dean went back to his office, spoke with the registrar that they officed together. The registrar then went into Ms. Tatiana's office and said, "Hey, where's the rest of his stuff?" And at that time, she provided more clothing that she had taken from the scholar. At that time, the registrar said, "Hey, why did you lie about it?" And she replied, "I didn't want to get in trouble." Tatiana had, many chances to report this to the high school administration, and she failed to do so. So she just exercised really poor judgment, and she thought that the scholar was under the influence of an illegal substance, and she failed to notify the staff.
And I can provide some information on the level 1 hearing. Ms. Hurtado that came to me. So she shared that she didn't feel the termination was investigated properly, and then she shared that there had been prior incidents with her having disagreements and conflict with the primary school director, as well as with a middle school director the summer prior, and she was alleging that this was a carryover from some of those prior conflicts instead of this standalone incident. And so, in looking through the information, much of which is in the packet, I found that she did, Ms. Lopez, in investigating the incident, she did collect statements and partnered with HR. She collected statements from the dean who interacted with Ms. Hurtado, as well as the office staff member who shared the office with her, who saw the whole exchange of clothes and withholding of the clothes when the administrator asked for them. So she collected those statements, followed a protocol through HR. While the investigation was going on, the employee was placed on paid leave, so the investigation could take place, and that's all in line with what we ask supervisors to do with HR. And so the finding that it was a carryover, or my findings with the investigation into whether or not it was, kind of some carryover from prior conflict with administrators, I found it was really the standalone incident, mainly because of what Ms. Lopez said, that, she found a scholar who smelled of marijuana, and for some reason behaved in a way that someone in her position never should. We should never be, other than saying, hey, we have a concern about this kiddo. We should never have an operations or office staff member, collecting evidence or involved in an investigation in any way. Just scholar discipline or that line of work is just totally outside of operations. And they all know from day one that if you have a concern, report it to those who can do something, which would be, teacher, counselor, anybody. And office staff should never engage in that way, let alone collect evidence, withhold it, and again, there was a large window of time. She did have that opportunity to tell the dean, who then even asked, hey, there's other belongings here, do you have them? And I said no. I just quickly, appeared to be some sort of, at minimum, involvement in a line of scholar behavior, and especially given that it's an illegal substance and something that wouldn't be allowed on campus. And not only intervening with that, but then collecting evidence and withholding it, and it just demonstrated that there was some intent to, in her mind, keep that scholar protected from punishment or something like that, is what it kind of alluded to. And so I denied her request to be reinstated as an employee on the Uplift operations staff.
Okay. The only question, was there any response as to why this person would have intervened?
So she did state that she took those were her actions taken because she had observed a middle school director do the same thing whenever the middle school director saw that a scholar smelled like marijuana, that he then had him remove his clothing and put it in a bag. So I think that was her reasoning behind it, like, oh, I saw a middle school director do that, so that's why I decided to do that.
She did, during our recorded discussion for the hearing, she shared, when asking why the scholar would wind up in her office, she shared that something to the effect of, scholars will talk with me, and sometimes when they can't trust the counselors, and so that alluded to some while it's good that we want all of our adults to have some kind of healthy relationship with scholars in the building, just a healthy school community, that alluded that, some lapse in judgment in terms of when she should intervene or what kind of overstepping your bound within the office staff operations lane, and that sort of counselor, scholar support, discipline lane, and that kind of shed light on that to me. And that was part of what helped me make my decision for the level 1 meeting.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions? Okay. Does anybody feel the need to go to executive session for questions? Yeah, Alex. Okay. Okay, well, with that, I would move to deny the appeal as outlined here by Ms. Hurtado.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the motion carries. Guys, thank you very much for taking the time and coming to this. It is 10:19, and we are adjourned.